Hi guys, Scott Woodward with you to talk about the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles prospects for 2012. Last year's premiers, bless their hearts, and followers of Champion Profits would have been on Manly at the good odds of $16 to win the grand final last year, and of course couple them up in a double with Geelong at $65. They completed a wonderful year for us, the Manly Sea Eagles, and look, there's no reason why they can't go back to back. I'll explain to you why I think they can, and I'll also explain to you the biggest difficulty that they will have why they can't, and it's nothing to do with coaching. Certainly the list that they have is as good as any list in the NRL, there's no question about that. The biggest problem they have is they have to travel England and they have to back up from a World Club Championship. It was one of the reasons why we opposed St George Dragons last year, and they got in the short price favouritism at one stage, the Dragons, but we knew that they would hit a brick wall at some stage with the intensity of rugby league in this day and age, playing extra games when the other clubs aren't playing those extra games, and having to travel to another country is an enormous amount of wear and tear on players. And when a lot of those players have to represent, also play for your country in the Four Nations, then have to play an Anzac Day test, and then have to play State of Origin, it's a hell of a lot of football, and it's very, very difficult for these players to back up and be fresh for the semi-finals. That's going to be Manly's biggest problem, player fatigue. Nothing to do with the coach, Des Hasler, leaving. Certainly he has left and has caused a lot of upheaval, but my mail is that everything's pretty sweet over at Manly, and the incoming coach, Jeff Tuvey, has done a wonderful job. He's a very good communicator and gets on very well with the players, and they have a very good setup in place over in Manly, largely thanks to Des Hasler. But if we just quickly run through the players, Brett Stewart is as good as any fullback in the world when he's firing. He's certainly the best try-scoring fullback I've ever seen play the game. He is a freak for being able to know what side of the ground to be on and how to sniff out a try. He's just a wonderful fullback. If he stays fit and well, and they did a wonderful job with him last year in nursing him through the games, if he can do that again and stay fit and well, Manly will certainly definitely be playing semi-final football again. No worries about that. They've brought in Ben Farrar as a backup for him, and he's proven in the past that he's an able deputy at fullback when Brett Stewart is not available. So that's a nice thing to have Ben Farrar there. The Manly have lost their two grand final fullbacks, but in all honesty, they've been replaced by Michael Oldfield and David Williams, both fly machines and both absolute class players and genuine first-grade players. So, look, it's not a big problem as far as I'm concerned with those guys going and these two guys coming in. I don't see a hell of a lot of difference there. In terms of their two centres, they're both intact, Steve Matai and Jamie Lyon, and what great seasons they had last year, particularly Jamie Lyon, certainly one of the best centres in the world still, in terms of defence and knowing how to find a hole and set his opposition up, not his opposition, his outside men up. Outstanding world-class player, Jamie Lyon. Steve Matai had a great season. I thought Des Hasler erred badly by bringing him back on in the grand final, and when he was injured there was no need for him to come back on. They had a comfortable lead and he was unable to tackle, and he let a very, very soft try in, which put the Warriors back into the game. Very bad coaching tactical decision to bring Steve Matai back on in the grand final, especially when they had a fit guy, James Buhrer, on the bench, who could have easily come in and played centre and would have defended much better. Anyway, look, they got the money, doesn't really matter, but yeah, he is an injury freak, Steve Matai, there's no doubt about that. Keiran Foran and Daly Cherry-Evans will be the 6 and the 7 again, and if you listen to my commentary, you'll know that I'm a mad Daly Cherry-Evans fan. If he keeps continuing on at the progress that he is, there's no doubt that he will be the next Andrew Johns in the rugby league world. I can't believe what he did in his first full season of rugby league. You aren't supposed to play every game and just keep getting better and better and better in rugby league. It's just an amazing effort, and he has all the skills. And I can see him being the captain one day if Manly can hang on to him. My mail is that Brisbane are keen to get him down the track, so they're going to have to pay a fair bit for him. But if he's not a $600,000 or $700,000 player, then I've never seen one. I don't know what he's getting, but it's nothing like that. The two props, Jason King will be back as one of the props, and he will partner with Brent Kite, I would imagine. Matt Ballin, the very reliable Matt Ballin, will be the hooker again. And what a wonderful back row this is. Anthony Watmough, Tony Williams, Glenn Stewart, 3 world-class back rowers. It doesn't get any better than that. It's just a fabulous effort. And one of the big success stories for Manly is the rise of Tony Williams. He's now an 80-minute player, and he solves the problem for Manly as who's going to play on that left side there. He's just a wonderful player. Every time he gets the ball, he looks dangerous, and it's very difficult for one person to put him down. Anthony Watmough, interesting what's happened to him. He's made it back into the national team, but I have to say he's not as dangerous as what he used to be. He used to make a lot more mistakes and get into a lot more trouble and miss tackles and all that, which was a nightmare. But he was very dangerous when he got the ball. He's not as dangerous as what he has been in past years. And so I'd like to see him get that back a bit. I'll be watching him very closely in these first few games. He's not making the breaks that he used to make. He's certainly playing a more controlled game. There's no doubt about that. But it's taken a little bit of the wild stallion out of his game. So, yeah, be interesting to see what Tuvi does there. As far as the bench is concerned, fabulous bench. And look, this is just a wonderful list. Joe Galuvao was outstanding last year, particularly when he came on and started when there were some injuries in the forwards. And he doesn't get paid a lot of money for playing, and I understand he has to travel all the way to Manly by bus. But what a wonderful guy to have in your club, Joe Galuvao. Darcy, Lussick, very unlucky not to be in the grand final, has got a wonderful future. He's the future of Manly in the forwards. Nick Skinner, also very promising. George Reyes, I was surprised they signed him again. Very lazy player as far as I'm concerned, very lazy in defence. Not really one of my favourite type players. He certainly has got all the Arthur Beethan skills, there's no doubt about that. But his work rate and his application in defence is not my cup of tea. James Buhrer can play anywhere in the forwards, in the backs. I think he's a wonderful player, the absolutely perfect guy to have on the bench, because you know when he comes on, he will do something. Whare is another player who can play in the centres and can play in the wing, can bust tackles. He's a guy who's scored 3 tries, I think, on debut. So they've got plenty of depth there. Vic Mauro, we saw him in the grand final. He went terrific, very promising, Vic Mauro. James Cunningham. We talked about Ben Farrar and also the very promising Dan Harrison. We never saw a lot of him last year, but he has all the skills and he can go all the way, Dan Harrison. Looking forward to seeing his progress in 2012. Look, you can see that there's fantastic depth there on the bench for Manly. And the wonderful thing is they've got 2 of the world's best players in 1 and 7, as in Brett Stewart and Daly Cherry-Evans. So while those 2 guys are on the field, they're going to be hard to beat in any game they play. And I haven't even talked about people like Matai, Lyon, Foran, Watmough, Williams, Stewart. It's just a wonderful lineup. The only way this team is going to be beat again is through player fatigue, and if they can keep this list together. I would doubt if they can. I think there will be injuries beyond any doubt. You can't play all those games at that level, state of origin, international games, and go over and play a club game and not to have problems during the year. So as we're talking right now, I don't see any reason why Manly can't go back to back and win grand finals, but I don't want to be on it at the moment. I would like to revisit them halfway through the season and just see how they're travelling. So at the odds that they're going to be, I don't want to lay them, but I also don't want to back them. So I'll be just watching Manly at this stage. I think there's better value in the NRL to back at this stage of the season. Manly can win again. Good luck if you're a fan. It was a great season last year.